One. Hey, how's everybody doing today on this next episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk? I am here with my friends Glen Friedman and Jill Williams, and they're with Ideas and Solutions, which really it's an organization that really focuses on quality assurance in the contact center. And Glen, Jill, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. No place we'd rather be than with you, Mark, having coffee. So thank you for this opportunity. Ideas and Solutions is a strategic consulting company. In addition to the quality assurance work, which we do marketing and business strategy for clients in media, tech, and reoccurring revenue and consumer-facing businesses. I grew up in the cable business. I ran call centers. I was the national manager of customer service for a large cable company. I know the pain and challenges of running a call entity. Jill and I, for the last 20 plus years, have worked in helping companies with a myriad of challenges and business challenges. One of the things that we've identified is managing customer experiences through the phone is getting harder, not easier. The easy calls are now going to self-serve. The harder calls are remaining in the call center or in chat. And we think that we have an approach that really helps people with those calls, manage them better, and ultimately affect their bottom line. So that's my background. And again, I'm just really delighted to be here and think the world of you, Mark, and really excited to have this discussion. And I'll turn it over to Jill, who's really the brains of the operation.
I think Glenn said it all. I don't know.
So I got to ask, whose ideas and whose solutions,
Well,
I'm the idea person. She's the solution.
There you go.
That's right.
Jill and I've worked together for 20 years, working with hundreds of clients, and I'm really very fortunate to be partnered with Jill in this operation and to have her intelligence and her talent in managing customer interactions.
Excellent. Yeah, and Jill, you're a Longhorn?
I am. Sorry about that. Sorry about that recent game with the Jayhawks.
Yeah. We live and let live.
That's right. That's right.
The final game of the year, though, is my beloved Jayhawks against the Longhorns. So it'll be a good end of season.
It'll be another matchup. We'll give you another shot.
Exactly. Well, so I just want to start off. Glenn, this may be a good question for you to start off with. What is the approach that you bring to the table related to quality assurance, and how is it different than what may be out there?
Well, we have an operating philosophy that it's important to really understand what's happening on the customer call from a consumer perspective. And we're not looking at, a checklist or a scorecard of did Joe rep say, hi, this is Joe from XYZ company. We're really looking at doing a diagnostic of the call and calls to understand why they're calling. Could the transaction have been done better? What was the experience that the consumer would feel? Obviously looking at characteristics both of the rep as well as how they manage hold and silence and all of those things, but really understanding how the interaction could be improved. And our work has really helped companies both reduce customer callbacks, because one of the key criteria that we look at is call resolution and future call resolution. And then we evaluate from the consumer's perspective, how likely is it that they're going to have to call back? And we have found through active listening and call diagnostic and effective management of the data and the insights and the information that comes back, we've had clients that have dramatically decreased their need to call back. They've shortened their calls, And again, the bottom line operation of the operation has been greatly improved. So it's not, again, just checking the box. It's really understanding what's happening on the call and then figuring out what can be done to improve the experience and improve the overall operation.
Yeah, Glenn, it sounds like, I mean, you really take CX to another level, where it's not just, you know, your boilerplate customer experience type of strategy. Not that anything is boilerplate anymore, but it's really looking at the experience through the eyes of what the customer is having to endure anytime they call into the contact center. Is that a fair statement? Or
that's spot on, Mark. I mean,
okay.
we're still looking at, again, rep characteristics and dimensions of service, but more than that, we're really looking at what was the experience. Was the rep clear with them? You know, one of the things, for example, that we identified is the disconnect on tech service oriented calls between reps who were very tech savvy and older customers. So, you know, they can use jargon and use information, and the other person, they might as well be speaking two different languages. So, you know, if you were evaluating that with the standard quality format, you might say, gee, the rep did all the right things and they told them to reset their equipment or to unplug it or whatever the case may be. But the reality is that communication wasn't clear and wasn't comfortable for both sides. So those are the kinds of things that we can get out in this type of call diagnostic. And we use a team of people who are trained specifically to understand and identify these type of interactions and these type of characteristics so that again, we can communicate it to the call center operations team so that they can enhance their training. They can change what they're doing in terms of their quality assurance, what they're doing with scripting, what they're doing with managing their technical operations and their delivery of the service experience. So yeah, I would say your assessment that this is different and taking it to the next level is exactly right.
Yeah, it sounds like you know, quality assurance, it's not a siloed operation. It's part of a larger system in how you guys approach it.
I think that's really insightful, which is that, you know, one of the things that we do for call centers is we're really understanding the dynamics of, you know, there are things that from a call resolution standpoint that rep can handle. There are some things that are future call resolutions that are dependent on other areas of the operation. And we're able to identify and quantify those situations as well as on the callback in those cases where that doesn't happen, to be able to provide diagnostics and data as to what's really happening. Because, you know, a lot of times from a rep standpoint, they've done everything that they can and they've resolved the call, but it still ends up back in the call center because it was interdependent on another area of the operation. And so our data and our information with our clients has been shared across departments and across the organization to really help the overall customer experience, and that it doesn't just all live within the customer service manager or that department. It really is a broader company operations tool that can be used.
Excellent. Really actionable insights is what you're trying to get to.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't want to just give people spreadsheets or data. We really want to give them things that they can take back in their huddles, that they can take back in their training, that they can take back in their scripting to really change the way in which they're delivering service. And again, what's been exciting for us, having worked with clients over many years, is to see the difference, to see the call interaction experience improve, to see the likelihood to call back decrease, to see the likelihood to be dissatisfied decrease, to see the call metrics of the actual rep increase. And all of this is, again, in an environment where the calls aren't steady state because of self-serve. The easy calls of, you know, when's my appointment or what's my bill or things that are just quick and snappy answers those calls are being handled with an app. Those calls are being handled with self-serve. And the reps are really being left with these very difficult calls, or more difficult or more complex calls. And that's why, again, this service of looking at the interaction and looking at the complexity of the calls has real value, because those calls by their nature are more difficult to manage and to serve.
And that really provides those insights for why quality assurance as a process, as a system, is so important for contact centers. You know, what are some other benefits that contact centers can really gain from having a holistic quality assurance program?
Well, I think that first of all, rep satisfaction is one of the things that can come out of this as well, which is that if you improve the processes and the systems that are enabling that call because you identified certain challenges, that's going to improve rep satisfaction. The other thing is that if you can reduce callbacks, that has a dramatic bottom line effect in terms of call volume and cost of service.
Yes.
And then if you can improve the experience, one of the things we look at is how reps handle retention calls. So whether or not they're actively trying to save customers and address specific customer needs, if you can improve that process, even if the retention calls are a small percentage of the calls that you're assessing, it adds up to a large bottom line effect. So there are a myriad of factors that we can do. The more efficient call tends to be a shorter call, therefore allowing more throughput of calls. So there are a lot of ways that we improve the economics, and there are many ways that we improve the experience. And the other thing is on the revenue side, when we look at either how people are handling retention calls or whether or not they're offering certain revenue opportunities on the call is another factor that we look at. So we can impact an operation on the revenue side, on the cost side, and on the customer lifecycle perspective.
I love it. I love it. Jill, I'm going to pop over to you here for a second.
It's like, what's left? We do it all.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any other insights into some of the things that Glen went over? Or
I actually something that you said, a couple things that you said have spurred a little bit more of the fact that we're still using the term contact center because they're no longer centered. They're now a diaspora of contact agents. And the other thing that you mentioned, Mark, I thought I wrote it down. What does the customer have to endure on the call? Endure. The fact that you used that word, it's like, it says how we all feel, and we're in the business of making it better. It's like it's how we all feel. If we're going to pick up the phone and make a call, we have to endure. It's a hardship. And we really, really, through our work, and as Glenn said, some of the most rewarding things are, I've seen individual agents that we've said warrant more coaching. They've improved and they've moved their scores. And it's exciting to see because they may have just been overlooked because they're in a call center of thousands. And because we're listening and we slice and dice and we're like, okay, this is what we're finding with this agent. And maybe they hadn't had any attention paid to them. They trained, they went on the floor, they're doing their thing, they're resolving calls, but like there's an issue. And so it's when we're able to listen and dig into those and really, I feel like, help those individuals. I mean, like Glenn said, rep satisfaction, another thing I wrote down, because we know that employee satisfaction, rep satisfaction, it minimizes turnover, increases experience, and all of that benefits the customer ultimately because they get someone who's more tenured as opposed to, churn and burn. It's like, oh, here's another new hire class that doesn't exactly know all the ropes or the shortcuts or things like that. So that rep satisfaction, I think, is key. And when we can help these folks improve and they feel better about what they're doing, I think we've really I think we've gone beyond just, what you might call a quality compliance issue. It really is, it's a quality of life issue in terms of the individuals as well.
Well, and I'm just going to do a quick sidebar here, but I mean, when you have agents that are just taking the same mundane call after call after call, and there's a lot of repeat callers that are being included in there, then you have a whole other topic, which we don't have time to do today, but you have a whole other topic of mental wellness that is now being factored into how that agent experience is impacting that customer experience.
Well, that's a really interesting point, Mark, which is that, it's interesting when you look at the dynamics of new reps versus old reps, and, what's an opportunity as it relates to using this as a technique and a tool is you're really able to see the dynamics of both, which is the new reps of what additional training should they have gotten, or did you think that they got that they didn't get? And with the more experienced reps, are they still conveying that enthusiasm for the product? Are they still as patient as they need to be? Are they shortcutting the caller in a way that is disenfranchising for the customer? So, both groups deserve attention, and the impact of those customer transactions are somewhat different at times, depending on how they're approaching the call and what resources. I know that you recently had another coffee talk about training.
Yes.
It helps inform training as to what kind of training do new rep hires need, and what kind of ongoing training and reinforcement, as well as what tools and support will help them, the reps, do a better job of creating the customer experience that the company wants them to have.
Glenn, you brought up a really important differentiator. New reps versus more experienced or tenured reps, and the needs of each are a little bit different. John, I'm going to throw this out to you. What do you see as, in looking at it from new or less tenured versus more tenured reps? What do you see as some of the biggest quality challenges that organizations are facing as a result of this larger work from home and or hybrid presence? And really the differences as it applies to like newer agents versus more tenured agents?
Well, there's so many things.
Well, we'll have to do a whole episode just on that topic.
But I'll start with,
It's a customer experience call, so just a moment.
it's just no on hold for 20 minutes. No,
we'll put them on hold.
No. So no, work from home, right?
Exactly.
So one of the things about new reps and old reps is that in the work from home space, you cannot just lean over and ask the person next to you, hey, they want such and such. How do I do that again? It's like, oh, I can chat with somebody, and if I don't say exactly the right words, because I'm new, right?
Yep.
So, oh no, but no, that's not what I mean. They want something else. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm supposed to be engaging the customer, but I'm trying to think like, I don't know how to do this, and I can't. It's like, so it's very challenging to be new at home, alone, feeling alone, trying to still learn and train and remember, and not have an in-person support system that we think about used to be like right there.
Yeah.
So I think and then I think on the flip side, and this is listening, and we have listened to a lot of work from home calls. And what's really interesting is some you can tell, some you can't. And the ones you can tell, there's they're not as professional. I should say some of the calls aren't as professional. They're more casual in their tone, in their verbiage. They're working from home. And I think that they know that no one is ever going to come stand behind them and watch them on a call because they're working from home. There is no one.
That would be just weird if it happened in this day and age.
unless it's their child, maybe.
Exactly.
So I think that whole contact center helps everyone stay focused. I think when we're all together in a room, some of us are competitive, a lot of leaderboards, a lot of contests, I'm going to take more calls than you.
Yep.
I'm going to get more, kudos than you. There's that, as well as the support of, hey, how do I do this? Or just 1 second, roll your chair back. Your supervisor's right behind you. This person, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's all become appointment viewing, if you will. I need to contact my supervisor and ask them a very pointed question that is now in writing, and they know I don't know it.
Yep.
As opposed to like, hey, is this like this? Oh, okay, cool. Just want to make sure that's not written down anywhere. That's not in anybody's, oh, let me do their performance review and review all the times they tap me on the shoulder. No, but let me pull up all the text and all the emails and look and see. And I think it prohibits quality, because I think it prohibits growth. And I think it allows people who are working from home to, let their professionalism down. And I also think, and I won't say everybody, because we still get like top-notch rated calls, which is what allows us to hear the difference. We hear people, they're just naturally enthusiastic and conversational. And these may be more tenured agents. So they're just already enthusiastic in their conversational. In fact, we listened to a call like that yesterday.
Yes, we did.
And she was wonderful. And you're like, wow, but you know what? She generates that herself. Not everybody does. Some people need that enthusiasm and the buzz and the energy of a busy call center around them to help pump them up.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, it's very difficult to self-generate. So I think, you may still be resolving calls, you may still be, handling issues for customers, which is the number one job, but that level of enthusiasm, it dampens the customer experience, and it also dampens the rep interaction, as we were just talking about. So I think those are some of the issues. And as you mentioned, there are more.
I would also like to add that, I think that for the most part, the people who were listening to at home were hired in call center and then sent home. And there ultimately is going to be a difference when people are hired for at-home work. Some people have a more conducive environment at home, both in terms of physicality and family dynamics that allow them to have a different experience. Some people don't have that. And again, when people were sent home, there wasn't a delineation between the two. Yeah. And I think some people are very, very satisfied with working at home, and they no longer have the commute, and they're very happy. We have many clients who have interviewed their reps, and their reps want to stay at home. And it's certainly less pressured, and they don't have commutes, and there are many benefits to the employee and to the call center rep. There are challenges in terms of how do we keep them, to Jill's point, pumped up, the energy level. You're not walking around, managing by walking around and seeing when you have a rep who's having challenges either with individual calls or in general with their environment. So it's much harder. And that's again why I would go back to saying quality assurance that is looking at compliance factors is more important in this environment. But you really have to dig deeper and look at the customer experience, which is multifaceted in a work at home environment that was different because you picked up some of those nuances by just walking around and seeing it in action.
Yeah, I also, take a look at this you obviously, as you said, Glenn, you can't MBWA, and the ability for an agent to go over and Jill, as you were talking about, just tap their supervisor on the shoulder, ask the question. I think it also brings forward, and we're talking a holistic quality assurance process or system. It really exposes those organizations or those contact centers, customer interaction centers, that there's a lot of tribal knowledge, and the documentation the knowledge base may not be as robust.
And you don't have the side-by-sides for new hires that you had. And, either side-by-side actuals, or as Jill said, yelling over the cubicle to the person next to you. But again, you have a loss, and I think it's really key for new hires that it requires more individual attention, and you need to make sure that your training is that much better, because they don't have that opportunity or that escape valve that they had in the traditional environment.
Excellent. Yeah, and Mark, also to your point, I think that the tribal knowledge, the collective knowledge, and the lack of standard work, lack of up-to-date processes, documentation, those things really do come out when folks are at home and they're looking through a knowledge base. And again, they're looking and they're talking and they're being nice. And they're like, I can't, it's like, as opposed to having a standard way of doing things every time, certainly, I mean, of course, there are going to be one-offs, but I'm saying for the consistent reasons that folks call.
So let's pivot a little bit. And when we're talking about, and Jill, you mentioned this, the compliance side of quality versus what quality assurance really should be. What would you say the top 3 features of any quality assurance program? And I know this may differ from company A to company B to company C, but generally speaking, what are the top features, 2 or 3 features that you think every quality assurance program should have?
Listening, and listening.
That's a pretty comprehensive list there.
That's right. But no, truthfully, I think there are 3 different forms of listening. I think you have the agent listening to the customer, actively listening. And I think that needs to be monitored and tracked. And you go, well, how do you track listening? You track it by having listened for acknowledging statements like, oh, I understand. Oh, I can do that. Or even things such as got it, just to let the customer know, I hear you.
Yes.
I hear you, I understand. So that's one form of listening. And then I think the next level of listening is a QA team, coaches, supervisors, managers, whatever their monikers are, but listening to the calls. They need to listen to the calls on a regular and frequent basis, because they're listening, like we just talked about, they're listening for compliance. Are they promoting the new initiatives? Are they resolving the calls in a timely manner? If they're not, is it a process issue? I've been on listening calls with executives, as I know you have, and they've gone, wow, that's really a clunky process for the customer. And we're like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I think that's important. So, and also, all of the compliance. And then what I also think obviously is super important is to have an objective third party come in and listen to the calls holistically, because we're not just listening for compliance, and we're not just listening to the customer, we're listening to the interaction. We're listening to why is the customer calling, what's being done about it, are they being validated, is the value of the product or service being reiterated on the call. And we listen for those nonverbal cues, the rolling eyes, if you will, of the customer when the person is offering them something for the third time and they've already said no. It's like, so I think that those are really, really, if you have those 3 aspects of listening in your quality assurance, your things are not going to fall through the gaps. I really, really believe that.
It's funny. You said, one of the things you just said, the agent trying to sell the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Back 15, 20 years ago, I'd get a telemarketing call, and I hate to say this, but I was that guy. And I'd get a telemarketing call, and I knew exactly what it was, and I knew that I had to. They had to try X amount of no's before they stopped, and I would just stop them in their tracks, and I would say no, no, Do you have to try one more time? No, that's all. Okay, thank you. You got your 2 no's.
Okay.
I'm not interested. So,
Well, I think, I think that that's a really interesting point, which is sometimes the compliance goes the other way.
mhm.
So particularly on a sales call basis, and that's why a compliance only approach is not optimal. So if you say that the person has to try every time, well, that's going to be very awkward because, and again, if you say, okay, accept these calls, that's better.
Mhm.
But just purely compliance, if you tell someone I'm going to measure if you make that offer on every call, you will have reps that make that call on every call, even when the customer says, I'm mad as heck at you and I don't want to do business with you anymore. By the way, would you like to hear about our offer?
Yeah.
And, so a compliance only approach without thoughtful consideration. And I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't say the things that you have to say for
Yeah.
legal reasons. That's a
Mhm.
different type of
That's a
compliance,
different level.
and there's reason for that, and there's logic behind it, and you have to do that. But when you say compliance in terms of specific call processes or
Mhm.
call scripting, you need to be very careful because you can really, by enforcing that, create an even worse customer experience.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, if I'll go back to the word endure, if the customers have to endure, the callers have to endure something that's uncomfortable for them, the likelihood that they're gonna change brands
Yeah.
pretty high,
I meant if they were new. I was thinking new caller, so I said no, but yes, they're gonna switch
Yeah.
from if that's their current provider.
Exactly, especially if it's something that becomes uncomfortable or onerous for them. So, well, this has been a great discussion. Now comes the fun part. You all ready for this?
I don't know.
This is a speed round.
Speed
So,
round.
Jill, I'm going to start off with you.
Oh no, I'm scared.
Oh yeah. So, Jill, tell me about something you're passionate about beyond work and family.
Oh my gosh, is there something beyond work and family?
No.
I didn't know that there was anything else. That's pretty much it. Sorry. No. I mean, ask Glenn, dude. It's like it's all about the kids, for me. So,
There you go. There you go. Glenn, how about you?
Well, work and family are obviously very important to me, but I'm passionate about helping the outcomes for foster youth specifically. And I've been doing a lot of work around trying to help foster kids, which is that the facts of less than 50% of foster youth graduate high school, less than 10% go to college, less than 3% graduate, 20% become instantly homeless. We have to do something. There's a real payback to society to helping this. Yes. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm co-leading an effort to help companies establish foster-friendly work policies. And if anyone out there is interested in this, please follow up with me. But similar to incorporating adoption into your policies, it's not a heavy lift. There aren't a lot of employees that will take advantage of this, but it is a way, if you can encourage employees to foster more youth, it has great societal benefits. A large percentage of our unhoused are former foster youth, a large percentage of people who are incarcerated. We need to do a better job. So that's what I'm passionate about, Mark.
I love that, Glenn. And that's something I have a feeling you and I could talk for days and weeks on.
We can have coffee together.
We can have some coffee talk. Forget about it. All right. So tell me about your ideal off the grid location. Where are you having your Zen moments, so to speak?
I can't tell you, Mark, because then everyone would go there. Sorry.
I'm very happy around a beach, a pool, or a lake.
Nice.
So any of those places are really good to me and much better if I'm with my family.
Very cool. Very cool. So let me ask one final question. So if someone wants to learn more about ideas and solutions, how should they go about contacting you or reaching out? I mean, obviously, if they reach out to me, I'm going to go ahead and pop them over to you really quick. But if someone on their own just wants to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Bat signal.
We can do that.
Okay.
The letters Q and A.
So the best way to reach us is to go to our website, which is www.ideasolutions, or to send us an email at info@ideasolutions, or to reach out to Mark. And Mark, I just want to thank you. This was a really fun opportunity, and always great to talk about quality assurance. It is something that we are both very passionate about, and passionate about helping our customers improve their interactions with their customers. And just thank you so much. And what a delightful opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate both of you taking time out of your schedules. I know you have a lot on your plates, not just today, but every day. And it's been an honor to host both of you today. I know we've worked a little bit together in the past on different projects, and I look forward to doing a lot more with you in the future. So once again, if you want to get a hold of Glenn and Jill, feel free to go ahead and reach out to me directly, and I will definitely make sure I connect you with them. Thank you, Glenn and Jill, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and appreciate your time.
Thanks.
No, thank you.